What Happened to You, Abby Shole, Part 2. 6 days, and the black clouds rolled across the sun in the dawn hours, clotting the sky with deep, depressive grays. During the sudden gale that rose up with brutal winds that chased the town indoors, making the streets a water maze when the downpour plastered the area with no signs of letting up. Now Deputy Harris, in the pale white rain poncho from the trunk of his car, walked the main street under the now tar-black sky. The storm took his mind thoroughly off the search for Abbey Shoal, as it had the majority of the populace in this moment. Having warning signs for washed-out roads to place public safety a priority after all. Why is it that water is the transitional force to shape existence? Even in the metaphorical realm. Water under the bridge, all things coming out in the wash. So then perhaps reality is the same. A storm for the ages roaring overhead, gnashing teeth of spiraled green dragons soaring above spots and godly spears of the cosmos. Is there water and shadows in the vast expanses near witnessed by any human animal? Condensation is not coincidence, though at times, or perhaps matter, the two may be confused. Harris, in his steady stance, plopping down the heavy wooden sawhorses, watching the water roll across his highly polished leather boots, seeing nothing in the tiny torrents but black, lacking entirely the brown of sediment or the tumbling hopelessness of passing debris. Unable to reflect the image of the man standing there, when in Harris's mind a sudden flash of realization coincided at the moment with a brilliant amber-green explosion as a tree across the road is obliterated by lightning, painting the area with color. Having then sent Harris to the drier grass along the roadside, a puff of sea-foam smoke rolled upward with the sound of popping wood and violently evaporating water beneath the heat. Held an all-too-human scream. The wail caused ice to clamber up the young officer's spine, being both terrified and excited to be alive. He spends the next few minutes collecting himself, mentally, and so that he is once again on his feet. The fire burnt against the rain that still saturated everything, eyes widening as his vision comes down to the flooded trench as if in divine offering. There lays, stiff as a log in the water, Abbey Shoal, perfectly fitted between the sawhorse signs. Skin of pearlescent white reflecting in the fire with all the tiny sparks of illumination found in the most star-filled nights. While being compelled to jump to the side of the formerly missing girl, the remaining electricity kept his hair on end, threatening to catch him if he strays too close. Her denim jacket only now gathering the darker tones of dampness, her hair beginning to mat around her oval face, looking much akin to one of her own dolls, starkly mocking reality with near-perfect artistry. Harris comes near as he can to the body while the air still holds weight within. Soft ripples of eerie green across the water as it rebounds off the obstruction of the body. Transitions of the black and green bubbling with crystal clarity, the trace of a pathway almost minuscule. Leasing for a moment a view unlike anything the feverish dreams of a shattered mind could conjure. Not a drug or poet has ever gleamed such depths. Past fields of distant galaxies churning with unable contrasts as cogs in a clockwork construction. Creatures within outstretched appendages howl from some godly attention as the swooping passage quakes into the violent black endless nothingness where molecules and atoms have no congealing force to bind them, in a void that floats on a tidal wave forever onward, where just at the edge of a lonely madness, a light both gargantuan and microscopic, with gaseous bubbles spawning sickly ambience, vulgar architecture, profaning sanity, drifts upwards, onwards, upwards, taller, with open maws collecting the pinkish dust of vile flesh and Cheshire grins of ivory white teeth. 1,000 eyes stare back across the timeless ocean, for every crevice in this colossal skyscraper is finding those all too human eyes of Harris, trembling in fear. While such an explanation of emotions is by far a shortcoming, Harris can feel his mind breaking the very nerves unable to process the scene, for what god or fly could ever hope to communicate such visceral grotesqueries and beautiful existences? All in the depths beyond endlessness, down or perhaps up as the obelisks break through the vertical lines of the monolithic architecture. Not a sheer edge to be found even in such perpendicular designs. Stone covered by charred skin. There, even as far off as the policeman may have set, he felt the tremor as something indescribably immense moves. Each footfall carving craters in parallel worlds, an imprint leaving newly formed galaxies as piles of muck. Somewhere among the obsidian cast shadows and the strange vicious fog, eyes lock upon Harris. So many eyes, with no sockets or iris-clad globes of shivering jelly flecked with gold, a sun and moon each one. As this beast with the posture of a man whose many arms and many hands rest upon the towers as easily as a slender twig might be caught, the faceless, meaty things that dwell inside open their tooth-filled heads to croak, chirp, and vomit up a song to the great form looming above. God, that sound. It crashes into the mind of Deputy Harris and opens the vessels to let free tears of vitae, making him collapse to mock the pose of a baying dog. He screams, louder than the rain upon the water, loud enough to bound between the incoherent guttural moans of the insane and the pleas of the sight of the eradicated form of his memory. Prayers that may go unheard. The poor foolish man to look into the far-flung places past all knowledge and time. An innocent mind unable to hold such things, let alone through chemical responses explain what it has absorbed. The body slowly losing all life while struggling to remain clasped upon the moral coil, giving one thought in reprieve as he looks upon the beautiful sculptured figure so lovingly white and untouched. Harris whispers, "What happened to you, Abby Shole?"